Secretary Hobbs, thanks so much for your time today and for sitting down with us.
Thank you very much.
We are in Snohomish at Collector's Choice. Is there a reason you picked this location?
Well, Collector's Choice has been an iconic place for people who live in the city of Snohomish. They come here for breakfast, great breakfast here. I encourage you to eat here.
Okay. Secretary, you've been in this position now since you were appointed by Governor Jay Inslee when Kim Wyman left office. And how's it going so far, and why do you want to stay in office?
Well, it's been great, not without challenges, because this office has evolved, not just here, but across the United States. We have really had to deal with national threats at a much higher level, so we had to push back on 3 misinformation campaigns and a cyber threat from Russia. So it's been really serious. But we've been very successful. We've ran two special elections and a statewide primary, so far so good.
Well, you kind of touched on this already, but you have said that some of your goals are to improve cybersecurity, combat misinformation, face election threats. So in your estimation, how have you done so far?
We've done a really good job. So in February, we had to deal with a misinformation campaign that was directed with something called an Albert sensor, which protects system networks. Okay. They somehow tied it to this to George Soros. As ridiculous as that sounds, people actually bought off on it. We had to push back on this false narrative and help a couple of counties. Unfortunately, one county did not put theirs back on. They voted unanimously to remove it, the county commissioners there, so we're in the process of trying to get that on there. Additionally, we received information from U.S. Cyber Command that there were 6 Russian IP addresses that state and local governments were transmitting data to. Now, what's great about this state is our tabulation machines are not connected to the internet, cannot be hacked, but still, you don't want a cyber attack on any of our county partners or on the state. And of course, 2 other misinformation campaigns that your station reported on. One was the cameras on drop boxes that were happening in King County, and another is people going door to door to somehow find these ghost voters, and these are actually real voters that are not there because they're serving overseas with their college students.
The seat has historically been held by a Republican. As I mentioned, you were appointed by Governor Jay Inslee after Kim Wyman left, and you are running right now against a nonpartisan candidate. Are you worried about that at all as we head into election season?
I'm not. The great thing about this office is it has been ran by individuals who can work across the aisle in a bipartisan manner. Both the last 3 secretaries of state were partisan, they were Republican, they're respected. And I'm in the same position. I've been endorsed by Republican legislators and by the Association of Washington Business and by labor. So you can see I have a bipartisan support in this office. You know, I'm not going to back away from being a Democrat. I am pro-choice, pro-environment, pro-labor, but I can still work across the aisle, which I have done on many, many occasions. It really doesn't matter the party label. It's about what you do. You know, I had this old motto in my infantry battalion when I served: deeds, not words. Look at the deeds, not the words.
We have been informed that you declined an invitation by the Washington State Debate Coalition to enter a debate here in Western Washington, televised statewide. Why?
It's very misinformative of this group, the City Club, and disingenuous of them to put out this press release when we never confirmed on the date, because we had told them that we already had a prior engagement, officially a Secretary of State, to visit the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce on the 18th. It's very unfortunate they did this. We didn't confirm, we never did, and to say that we canceled is not true. It's factually not true. We've already done 6 debates, many of them you can see online, and we've done candidate forums or candidate interviews with the various newspapers here in Washington State, which you can view online, and there's 2 other debates that are happening that people will be able to see on TV or online.
So to clarify, you have not declined, you simply cannot be there on the date that they've proposed, and you did not answer.
Correct. We told them ahead of time that we could not do the date, and unfortunately they put a disingenuous press release that said that somehow I did or I canceled, which is simply not true.
My understanding in the press release, it also said that you were unavailable any other day before elections. Is that true?
So by the time they got to the point where they were asking me, then my schedule was really full at this time. You know, look, I'm kind of unusual in this situation because I have National Guard duties. I have a child with special needs. I would like to keep my family. I'd like to keep my marriage. Plus, the duties of Secretary of State are very difficult. And of course, during a campaign, you set up fundraisers and events and coffees. And there's other organizations out there that want to have candidate forums out there.
This is a understandably high-profile debate, the Washington State Debate Coalition. Historically, they've put on statewide debates for a wide audience to see, perhaps the widest audience. Do you feel that it's a disservice to voters if you don't participate in any debate with this organization?
No, because we already have done 6, which anyone can see, and then we've got 2 more coming up. So no, I mean, because you can see it right now. You can see debate that happened at AWB, and you're going to see, I think, 2 others coming up, one in Spokane and one in Seattle.
Secretary Hobbs, you're a veteran. You're also the first person of color to hold this seat. How do you think that that's going to play with voters?
Wow, no pressure. No, I think it's a good thing. The fact that there is a underrepresented, underserved community out there, and now they have a face that represents them and that gives them a voice. And also veterans. I mean, we're people that serve our country and believe in public service, and so it gives that credibility where I'm in now. And on top of that, when you're dealing with elections, those who are currently serving have a special needs in terms of getting their ballots to them earlier and understanding their situation. I was deployed. I had to vote overseas. My son, who deployed to Ukraine last year before the invasion, same thing with him as well. Also, one thing that your viewers may not know is the fact that I have a child with special needs. And he votes as well. He has cognitive disabilities, but he is a U.S. citizen. He has a right to vote, and you have to have a voice for them as well.
Your opponent has mentioned that's 2 areas where she would like to see things improved. Active duty military, as well as special needs or people that have certain disabilities and are unable to vote in the mail-in system. Is that something that you're concerned about as well?
I am, simply because I come from those communities and I understand because I've been there.
Washington State has had success with mail-in voting. We've been doing it for several years now. Do you think that other states should adopt the same universal mail-in voting?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's great here in Washington State because you receive your ballot 18 days before the election. So at the convenience of your own home, you can do the research on the candidates, just like you can do research on me and my opponent and find out which choice that you want to do. You don't have that in other states. Only very few states do mail-in ballots. So I hope that we can keep that. I believe we will, and I hope other states will adopt it.
Do you think mail-in voting is working here in Washington State, and what do you think can be improved?
Oh, absolutely. It's working well here. One thing that we fail to do is talk about the elections process. Secretaries of State, myself, and in the past, and auditors have done a good job telling people, don't forget to vote, mail in your ballot. What we have not done a good job is telling you how the process is done. A lot of people don't know that we check every signature. A lot of people don't know that the database, VoteWA, which holds the voter database, communicates with other databases. People don't know we're part of a larger system called ERIC, which is the Elections Registration Information Center that talks to each other. Because when people move, we'll find out about it. If you accidentally vote in the same elections twice, we're going to find out about it. A lot of people don't know we check every signature. And lastly, people don't know that you can go to your county auditor and watch the process as it's happening, and that's what we got to talk about.
You mentioned education. You've also mentioned your sons, and part of the duties of being Secretary of State, as you know, are educating the public not only about how the elections process works, but just democracy overall. How do you think we can reach younger voters?
Oh, thank you for that, because I'm very excited about that. One thing that we are looking at, and this is theoretical right now, is developing a gaming app, a mobile game app for young people. Perhaps they're voting in a fantasy setting and voting for imaginary characters, but it gets them at a young age about the importance of voting and in civics. And maybe we throw in a couple of civics questions in there, and if they answer and they do well, then perhaps they level up and there's a leaderboard involved. We're also looking at the curriculum that we send out to our local schools. Again, big nerd. I have a lot of ties to the tabletop gaming industry here in the state of Washington and trying to curate, well, you know what, it's nice to give them a curriculum, but what about a tabletop game that they can play, that gets them energized, it's age appropriate? So yes, we've got to get to the young people about the importance of voting and the importance of civics here in the state of Washington.
I'm going to bring our viewers into our previous conversation that we were chatting about before we had the cameras on. It sounds like a cross between your hobbies and your day job.
Yes, that's true. Being an elected official can be stressful. Being in the military can be stressful. So I like to get away. Sure, I do the things that a lot of people do. So I run and work out. But I like playing Dungeons and Dragons. I like playing tabletop games. I like watching the latest Star Wars and Star Trek with my kids. If you show me a ship, I could probably identify the class of ship,
Okay.
Which universe it ties to, and especially with Marvel Comics, I have long boxes at home. I collect comic books. I knew about Rocket and Groot before everyone else did.
Okay, noted. Do you think that your love of technology helps you in this office?
It absolutely does. The fact that my military experience, having served in the National Security Agency, having graduated from the Department of Defense School, and being currently a public affairs officer, prepares me for the cyber threats and the misinformation campaigns that are directed at elections right now.
Can you describe the state of democracy in America today? What are your thoughts?
It's under threat. Your network, King 5, actually did a poll. It showed that 35% of Washingtonians right here at home have doubts about the election. That is why we need to bend this curve. It's going to take a long period of time. We have done a great job of telling people to vote, to turn in their ballots. What we have not done a good job of is telling people what happens to their ballot after they vote, how they get their ballot, talking about the voter rolls, and that's what we need to do. One, we need to go after any disinformation that comes up as it happens. The other thing is voter information, letting them know that their signatures are checked, that there's a database that talks to other databases out there. And the other thing is social media awareness. Don't retweet things right away. Don't share a Facebook post right away. And is that person who's friending you, is that a real person? It may not, because the threats are real. We have nation-state actors out there, Russia, China, terrorist groups. Sole purpose to bring our nation down and have Americans fight each other.
On a related note, do you think that state governments should be involved in moderating social media content?
Oh, no.
Okay.
But I think what we should do is call out something that is maybe false. So for example, if somebody reports something, I saw ballot box stuffing at this particular drop box, or we saw something erroneous, right? Well, what we would do is we would contact that county auditor and go, hey, did you see something erroneous? Did you see something happen? And then they would probably say, probably no, most likely. And or we talk to the county sheriff and say, hey, look, this erroneous event that happened, we checked with the county auditor, it didn't happen. Thank you very much. We will monitor the situation. But that's what we need to do. We just need to get ahead of this and react quickly. We can't allow a false tweet to become a retweet, to become a meme, and next thing you know, you have people storming the Capitol on January 6th. And they did the same thing in our own state capitol.
What has surprised you most as you've been Secretary of State in your role?
Yes, what surprised me the most is the threat of misinformation and cyber. Immediately in February, we had the misinformation campaign directed at these Albert sensors, and tying it to George Soros and how there was a grassroots effort to remove them and was successful in one particular county. The fact that we were notified after that, 6 to 8 weeks later, by U.S. Cyber Command, that there were Russian IP addresses that were receiving data from state and local governments. These are scary things. These are large, threatening issues that are affecting elections. And then, of course, the two misinformation campaigns, the group going door to door, which you all have reported on, and then I would say voter intimidation by videotaping these drop boxes out there. So that's what surprises me, is that it's still happening, it's going strong, and that we need to do something about it. And the amount of folks out there that just don't know about elections, including candidates running for federal office and state office, they don't even know the simple thing of you can just go into your county auditor, which I encourage everyone to do, and watch the election process going on. They can tell that it's transparent, that it's secure and accessible. If they were just simply ask the questions and go to your county auditor, go to your Secretary of State's office and just ask.
And what has surprised you most as you campaign?
Well, it's basically the same thing, because when you go on these candidate forums, you listen to other candidates out there, not just for Secretary of State, but I heard one where it's like, well, we need more transparency. It's like, you didn't know that you can just go in there. We need to check signatures. Well, we already check signatures. Mm-hmm. So that just, to me, means that we just have to do more to inform the voter, which is why we're doing the Vote with Confidence campaign, to talk to people, talk to the public about what happens to your ballot. Again, it's not enough to tell people to vote anymore, because there's too much doubt in the elections process.
And what are you most excited for if you stay in office to accomplish in your next term?
Well, I'm very happy that we're bringing up these robust systems of cyber protection and election security. In fact, we're going to look at a possibility of doing a major exercise in 2023 to get ready for the 2024 elections. But I got to tell you, it's not elections that really excite me. It's the fact that I have libraries and corporations and nonprofits and legacy in the Secretary of State's office. So being able to reach out to the libraries in our state institutions. We have libraries in our prisons, in our state hospitals. We are now going in juvenile facilities, and being able to bring to them not just books, but maybe tabletop games, maybe therapy. Maybe it's an opportunity in our libraries and our state institutions to have the ability to rehabilitate incarcerated folks, to prepare them when they leave, give them the skills necessary, the social skills as well. We have an opportunity to do that in the libraries, and we haven't been doing that. And also with our corporations and nonprofits, if you have a problem right now, you have to drive to Olympia, or you do a very, sometimes it can be frustrating on the phone if you're not, you're not good with the computer, or you're not internet savvy. And we're going to set up some satellite offices so that people can go there, it's closer, or we can come to you. So I'm very excited about these programs that we're.
Obviously, the duties of Secretary of State are not just limited to administering elections. There's other duties as well. So what are some of the other things that you enjoy about the job?
Libraries, love the libraries, corporation charities and nonprofits. I love the legacy part of it because that's the history of our state. We get to do these oral histories and put out books. The Address Confidentiality Program, an amazing program a lot of people don't know about, protecting victims of domestic violence so that their perpetrators don't come after them. We have the Combined Fund Drive. We have the Productivity Board, where employees of the state can come up with great cost-saving ideas, and we can reward them. So I love the office. It's great. People want to talk more about elections, but it's only a small part. It's like maybe 22 to 30 people in an office of 300 people, but it certainly does have the most news and most attention. But there are other parts of the office that are very important and crucial to the state of Washington. This is a very selfish question because I absolutely love the library, but what do you think can be improved in the library system in the state, and how can we utilize it more? Oh, absolutely. So as I mentioned, we have the state library itself, and we're building a new library. We have other libraries in our state institutions, and we're going into our juvenile detention centers. But the other thing I would like to do is coordinate with rural libraries. I'd like to launch a program next year called Safe Libraries, Safe Kids, because in some communities, the library is the only safe place they can go to. They don't have a Boys and Girls Club. They don't have these facilities that they can go to. And working with the tabletop game companies, create a game library like they do in the big cities like Vancouver and Spokane, where you can check out a game and you can stay there in a nice, safe place. And so these are the fun things I get to do as Secretary of State. Is there something that's surprising about you that voters may not know? Well, other than being a big old nerd, no, that's probably the biggest thing. Served 33 years in the military. Started off as a private, now I'm a lieutenant colonel. Started off in military intelligence, that's where I got the experience in the National Security Agency, then became an infantry officer, then a public affairs officer. Served in Kosovo and Iraq, and in both those places, I actually had to do help in the elections process. So in Kosovo, I provide security there. And in Iraq, I actually collected the nomination ballot boxes and distributed them to the various parts of Iraq, and then we had to collect them again. So I actually had a role in it. So I signed for those boxes, and I helped out in the first elections, or leading up to the first elections in Iraq.
It was a precursor to what you're doing now.
Exactly. I didn't even know that at the time. Yeah.
What's the most interesting place you've traveled to?
Oh, I've been to so many places, being in the military.
Yeah.
I love Japan just because I'm half Japanese. My mom's from there. We have a farm out there, the family does, so to go out there to the rural Japan I love it, to be able to get back to my roots. Served in Germany, and because I'm a nerd, love the castles, love the history, love the old ruins over there. And then being in Kosovo and Iraq, just the experience of a lifetime, being serving overseas, defending democracy, just amazing.
Is there an international component? You've traveled overseas, you've served in the military, and you're well-traveled, so is there an international component to Secretary of State jobs?
Yes, there is actually. The Secretary's office does do trade missions. We just did recently, I called a reverse trade mission, where we brought in folks from Japan and Taiwan, and we visited our wineries, and we took them to a fruit processing facility so that we can let them know, hey, you can buy our goods are safe. And then I got the opportunity to ask the Japanese if they can lift our frozen blueberry tariffs to help our own blueberry farmers.
Are they going to do that?
I don't know. I hope they did. I hope they will.
Yeah.
At least it was a minor oversight on that. But any way that I can help Washington State with its economy, I'm going to be on top of it.
Secretary Hobbs, thanks so much for sitting down with us and allowing our viewers to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, thank you very much.
For more local news coverage, live and on demand, watch King 5 Plus. Download free on Roku and Fire TV.